What's up, gang? Welcome back to the Swimmingly Show. Today, we're tackling something that everybody in the sport, coach, volunteer, parent, swimmer, administrator, has felt to their bones, and that is swim meets. We tend to talk about swim meets here because that's the sport. You can't have the sport without competition, and you can't have competition without swim meets. And they're a little bit chaotic. They don't have to be.
Yeah, so we'll dive into all the stopwatches that don't get a start before a race. We're talking summer swimming, recreational swimming. We'll talk about all the paper sheets, stacks of paper that you guys are dealing with on the pool deck. Those things are dissolving in the rain. They're getting dropped in the pool. They're everywhere. Runners sprinting across the pool deck like it's probably a marathon. They're getting their miles in. They're getting their steps in at a traditional swim meet. Volunteers always drowning in manual tasks. I mean, it takes an army to run these meets, and they are drowning in all of these tasks. And then, of course, you got to think about the parents. And these parents are constantly missing races because they don't know what the heck's going on. So at the end of the day, for these swim meets in the summer, you've got late nights, you've got slow results, and really not enough clarity or transparency for these parents.
And stick around till the end because we're going to actually kind of walk through and talk more about our platform, Swimmingly, today, how the pricing structure works. It's pretty cool. It's different than anything out there because, spoiler, there's no cost to the organization. We've connected everything from the parent registering all the way to when the child's fingertips hit the wall and you can see the live results. And we want to show you that journey and how we get there. We're going to talk more specifically about the Swimmingly platform today.
All right, yeah, let's dig in. Let's get started with the problem.
Well, the problem, Hayes, we always like to start with the problem, and that is the way that swim meets are run is the same as it's always been. We're stuck. We're stagnant. Everything's manual. Each step is disconnected from the next. Even in the most sophisticated level of the sport, with touch pads, etc., each component, each step is disconnected from the one before it and is disconnected from the one after it. And you have to hold all of these things up and juggle them. The administrators and the so-called IT tech staff, people moonlighting as these jobs to get it all done and hold it all together and just survive till the end of the meet. With summer swim, with rec teams, everything is paper-based, or you're using archaic hardware. Everything depends on volunteers who may or may not know what they're doing and oftentimes don't know what they're doing, or they're made to feel like they don't know what they're doing, which is even worse. No matter how good your team is, you can only be as good as the system, the solution that you're using. Let me say that again. Doesn't matter how good your team is at these operations, you can only be as good as the solution or the system that you're implementing. Running a meet requires three things: team management, meet management, and a timing system. There's other nice to haves in that, but those are the essentials. And there's no system in 2026 that provides you with all three things you need to run a swim meet. Let me say that again. You cannot go and buy off the shelf a solution that provides the three things you need to run a swim meet: team management, meet management, and a timing system. That's hard to believe, but that's where we're at. Now, spoiler, Swimmingly does. We're going to unpack it, but just think about that. Our youth sport that we love, swimming, there isn't one single solution that exists. That can deliver all the three things that you need to run the meet. So instead of one tool to get the job done, teams are patchwork quilting, different software solutions, some sort of timing solution, hardware, console, plunger, something that's been in the storage room. It's older than all the kids on the pool deck, probably.
Yeah.
And they're just surviving, through each season with just sort of whatever they have, and they're just cobbling it together.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. You are literally coming off of almost a year from the conclusion of your season. Coming back in into May, early June, you're opening the equipment box or the closet in the storage room, whatever it is. Half the cords are missing. Some of them are broken. The stopwatches are definitely probably dead, and nobody knows which laptop was used last season. So they got to figure out how to get this licensed software back on the computer. So that's a huge problem in itself.
So you have volunteers who are forced to become IT technicians. Volunteers become crisis managers. Parents don't really know what's going on. They're hoping for the best, and no one really feels in control. And again, you're back to this You're juggling concept of all of these things in the air and just trying to hold everything up with duct tape and chewing gum, hoping that that one person who's been at the pool for 10 years is there. And it's, oh, thank goodness Mrs. So and so's here. We couldn't do this without her. Well, of course, because again, you can only be as good as your system that you're running allows.
Yeah. I mean, and the reality is these swim meets haven't really evolved. They're accumulating more band aids, one system here. Let's add a new timing system here. Let's do registration in this system here. And it's just a mess. So the swimming experience as a whole, and for the athletes, all of that gets overshadowed by the administrative chaos surrounding all of that.
Yeah. 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 Isn't it funny, Hayes? The swim meet tends to be this sideshow. The swim meet is this thing going on over here, but the main act is really watching this administrative chaos and all of this stuff going on. That's the real focus, unfortunately, for most summer swim teams. Otherwise, the swim meet isn't going to run. And so the sideshow, it's secondary. It's in the shadow of this administrative chaos, and that's where all the staff members, the volunteers, are putting their focus.
Yeah, I mean, it really is crazy, thinking back to coaching this summer. You have these groups on teams, and their stress and anxiety goes up starting the night before the meet, right? Because they got to start planning the morning of the meet to get there to start doing this and that and setting up for the meet. And they're so inundated with all of that stuff surrounding the actual swims that they don't even talk about the swim meet itself. They really don't, because they're just so concerned about what may or may not happen running the actual meet. So that brings us to swimmingly. So this is, we've addressed the problem. We love addressing the problem because this is always where we start with our prospects and our new customers. We have to make sure that they realize what the heck is going on in today's world and what's possible. So swimmingly takes everything: the team management, the meet operations, and most importantly, the timing system, and brings it all into one single ecosystem. Charlie, like you mentioned, there's nothing unified today. I mean, it's totally one system here, another system there. So we've brought it all under one roof, not 3 systems duct taped together, not 5 pieces of equipment and a prayer that this meet runs well.
Right.
It's one simple flow throughout the entire season.
Yeah, we really tee up the problem a lot of times when we have these discussions, but we're very much talking about the solution swimmingly today. With the swimmingly solution, there's no hardware, there's no router, there's no plungers, there's no clickers, there's no console, there's no key fobs that are trying to pretend to be some sort of timing system. There's no searching for this equipment out of the shed. There's no watching a volunteer panic while entering handwritten times into a laptop.
Yeah, I mean, and here's the lens that we've built this through, and we've started day one. What if the simplest way to run a meet was also the most powerful one, making it simple all the way through from start to finish?
Yeah, this is a key point. Hayes is alluding to the timing system component here. We don't believe in adding hardware to a swim meet, and here's why. Because the simplest solution is going to be the most powerful, and the technology is always catching up. And that's why we're in the swimmingly ecosystem. You can run the timing system, you can run the entire swim meet from the device in your pocket, and that's the only piece of hardware that's required. There's no swimming or swim meet proprietary equipment that's required. No matter how easy someone claims for this swimming specific piece of hardware to be, it's not, because it has to integrate with software from a different company, because you got to go find it, because people don't know how to use it. And that's the key. People know how to use the phone that's in their pocket because it's the phone in their pocket. And so the requirements, the barrier to entry to using swimmingly for that new volunteer is as simple and straightforward as, if you know how to use the phone that's in your pocket, you're fully qualified to help run this swim meet. And that's the keys. We go back to love these volunteers that have been doing this for years. And then when they understand that they can pass the torch to the next generation easily, because anyone can run swimmingly, anyone can learn it, anyone can teach it, all of these barriers just start to go away in the sport. And we love it. We love seeing it.
I mean, and to your point about volunteers passing the torch, there are also volunteers that will refuse to pass the torch, and that's okay. While there are these people that want to hold on tight and just
You mean there's egos in the sport? There's people that like to hold on?
I mean, it's hard to get them to switch, unfortunately. But at the same time, there are more than 1,000 teams around the world today using Swimmingly, which is amazing across all types of programs. So you've got your summer, you've got your YMCA, your Parks and Rec, your international swim schools. All of those types of teams do have believers that want to make a positive change in the sport. And they're starting to do that with Swimmingly because they know it's going to solve all of these problems that we've talked about.
Yeah, yeah. Now I'm probably like your child or maybe you. I grew up in the sport. I grew up in summer league. You know, my first experience was as an Oak Park Acorn. I loved it, but I could also see how chaotic meets were.
Also,
Even
Acorns is like a pretty epic mascot.
the Oak Park Acorns. They changed their name since, unfortunately. You know, I'm one of those guys now. Now that we're old and crotchety, I'm like, man, it's not like it used to. It ain't the way that it used to be. Hey, it's like we used to back in my day. We were the Oak Park Acorns, the intimidating Acorns. But you know, this whole time through my journey through the Olympics and to the top of the sport, starting at the bottom of the sport, the base, going to the top, I'm thinking, how do we make the sport something that more people want to be a part of? That's the foundational question. And that's what we're all asking. You can see it out there with these other companies in the sport that are trying different things at different levels in the sport. It comes back to how do we make this sport something that more people want to be a part of? And for us, it's focusing at the entry level of the sport. We believe the strength is in the participation at the entry level. And that's where we live. We want to make that entrance ramp to the sport just really easy so that it's a super highway once everyone gets on there.
Yeah, and
So
by going to the top of the sport, Charlie is often very modest, but he did go to the Olympics and win a gold medal, and this is always such a fun story to tell because I don't know of any other companies that have been founded by the earnings of an Olympic gold medal. So, when he did earn that gold medal in London, quickly thereafter, he did take all of those earnings and put them right into what Swimmingly is all about. And the mission hasn't changed. We want to make the meet experience simple, fast, and enjoyable for everyone on the pool deck, especially the smaller teams, the new leagues, the new parents. We really want to make that a welcoming experience for all of them.
yeah, I really think I appreciate you sharing that, Hayes. I really think one of the superpowers that swimming has with our company, with Swimmingly, is what Hayes just said. You know, we come from the perspective of having won at the highest level of the sport. You know, I literally put all of my gold medal earnings into founding Swimmingly, into launching the company, taking the money that I earned at the top of the sport and investing it at the base of the sport. We literally did that. And that's a cool story. And I appreciate Hayes bringing it up. But the perspective that Swimmingly has is the difference maker. That's what's making change at the base of the sport because we're not necessarily focused. There's some other startup companies and there's other voices and visions and strategies in the sport. And a lot of them are focused at different levels of the sport. We've been to every level of the sport as a company, and we know with conviction that where it's at is at the base of the sport. Where it's at is helping bridge those kids that are learning to swim to getting into those first levels of competition and enjoying the sport and falling in love with it. So that's where we come from.
Yeah, so let's dive into Swimmingly a little bit more. I mean, we've talked about the problems and everything that we solve, so let's dive in and really address what exactly we do. And
Yeah.
we have these components, and as Charlie mentioned, it takes three things to run a swim meet. That's team management, meet management, and timing system. And we'll also dive into the spectator app of what we offer as well, because the spectators are equally as important as everyone running the swim meet, even the swimmers competing, because those parents are the ones that are helping and getting these kids to the pool every day. So they need to be included in the experience.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Again, from the moment that the parents sign up for the season to the time that the child's fingertips hit the wall at the end of a race, Swimmingly offers a solution for that entire experience. And we're going to get to the kind of the secret sauce and the roadblock that most teams experience. But the first one is the clubhouse.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll dive into this a little bit. So think of this as your team management portal. This is like your HQ. This is where your roster lives. This is where your meet setup, your meet schedule, your entries, your heat sheets, your communication, all of those important pieces for managing your team. That is where this lives. So in the olden days, it's replacing the spreadsheets, the back and forth with volunteers, text messages. Are you going to make the meet? Are you going to make the meet? Why don't you RSVP? Why don't you do this? That's all taken care of. So we've got this amazing team management app, web app called the Clubhouse, where it will act as your home for everything managing your team, which is awesome.
Then next on the pool deck, we have the Swimmingly app. And so that's your meet management and it's your timing system, your in-app timing. So this is where you actually run the meet as you probably know. These timers, they're holding their phone. All they have to do is tap to stop each race. They get an automatic synchronized start for every race from the starter. And the system handles everything else. There's no technical setup of any kind. There's no router behind the scenes or what. What about the connect? Like the software just handles all of it. The person that doesn't know anything about technology or IT, this is for that person because all you have to do is use the app and everything else takes care of itself. There's no manual entry of data after each race for the times. There's no card sorting. There's no deciphering handwriting of what the timer wrote down, then passed to the runner, and now the scorekeeper's trying to read what it says. It's just clean, synchronized results. It's really easy. And again, it's designed for the entry level and veteran, but entry level staff or volunteer members so that they can run these swim meets with more frequency.
Yeah, and really, I would say, Charlie. I mean, we obviously agree on this, but when people understand it, it's pretty cool when it clicks. But when they understand that the timing system, the Swimmingly app, is this big differentiator, it
Mhm.
is the piece that really causes these meets to speed up. It's
Yeah.
just like this wow moment. It's like really cool to see. And because we have this amazing timing system, we're 12 years into this thing and we've got all of these clubs using it in all these different ways, running more frequent meets, obviously less paper, all of that stuff. We are able to offer the Swimmingly fan app, which is the parent experience. So think of this as the scoreboard in every parent's pocket. If you're a year-round parent listening, think of it as our version of Meet Mobile, other than you're not having to press a button to get results to this thing. It just automatically happens because we have this amazing timing system. So the biggest questions we want to answer for parents, and we used to get these all the time, and this is a big reason why we created Swimmingly Fan. Parents would come to us and they'd say, all I really care to know, I'm a new parent. I just want to know when my kid's swimming, how'd they do, what's the score, and when can I get the heck out of here? So because we're controlling this data on the pool deck via the timing system, we're able to push notifications to them to events before their kid swims. Literally have instant results in their pocket when their kid touches the wall. Like, how powerful is that at a summer swimming experience?
Yeah. And
These parents now get to feel and see results immediately. That has never happened.
right, right. What you're describing with everything under one platform, under one roof means that we can just get out of the way as volunteers, as staff members, as people running the meet. We can just get out of the way and focus on the actual swim meet, the people, not the process. And there's no one behind the scenes that's secretly holding all of this together or I'm using this system here for the spreadsheet and the meet management, and I'm using this piece of hardware over here, and I'm kind of, I got to connect it, and where's the router, and our pool doesn't, all this nonsense. Again, we're just getting out of the way because we're actually finally, for once, for the first time, there's an app, there's a piece of technology that's not focused on the technology for technology's sake. It's running everything and it's allowing these people to just get out of the way and enjoy the swim meet with everybody else, focusing
Yeah.
on the people, not that process.
Yeah. And I'll echo that. It supports every person at the swim meet. You're not hiding anything from anybody anymore. You're using an app in your pocket
Hmm.
to run and experience a swim meet.
Yeah.
It is 2025, you know? So, I mean, last week, Charlie, we talked about a lot of the value that we bring to the table, why it matters to swim teams, all of that good stuff. So, the moment everything lives out, or the moment everything lives inside of one system,
Hmm.
the entire meet transforms because obviously we're dealing with teams coming to us that are saying, we do this for team management, we do this for meet management, and we have to go find stopwatches or plungers or whatever. And then it
Right.
takes 2 hours to set up the entire meet. So let's
Yeah.
dive into why that's transforming these swim meets so profoundly.
Yeah, there's the transformation within the swim meet, and then there's the transformation of the organization that goes way beyond just one swim meet. But focusing on just the transformation inside the swim meet first, swim meets are going to be faster. They are faster. The data and years of customer feedback back this. They're dramatically faster. If you're running a 4-hour swim meet, you're going to be running a swim meet in less than 3 hours, maybe faster. volunteers are relaxed. They're not walking around worried about what they're going to miss, screw up, break, etc. You can pull these folks that have never volunteered before into this experience, and they're relaxed. It's stress free because they know there's nothing for them to screw up. Coaches are no longer yelling across the deck because they have a scoreboard in their pocket. It's connected with everything going on. No one's waiting. I hope I get the results to me on paper or some sort of electronic form at some point, and you're relying on all these things behind the scenes. That scoreboard in their pocket, just right there. They're instantaneously a part of the experience, nothing being held back from them. Same thing with the parents. The transparency right there in their pocket. They can see what's actually going on. Kids are racing more often because the duration of the meet is less. Again, talking about transformation outside of the meet, because a lot of organizations are running faster swim meets. So they're doing more swim meets. Imagine that competition and participation increasing the entire point. And there's no troubleshooting. It's just easy for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I think the coolest thing, I'm fortunate enough to coach a country club here in Nashville, and it is so fun to be a part of a league that is coming from this old school three timers per lane.
Right.
And now they're all using Swimmingly, I guess, 6 years now, and they've fully embraced it. I used to see timers walking around like stiff as a board with their clipboard and their stopwatch, and they literally can't move because they're so stressed behind a block, to now they have their lanyard with their phone around it, and they're just kicked back behind the lane. They know they don't have to start a clock, and it's just really cool to watch.
Yeah.
And so when Charlie talks about, increasing participation, obviously we want to increase participation in swimming. And a big thing that's holding that back is the setup of these swim meets. So typically, if you're using these old school systems, and I'm not even talking about year round, the high end year round teams that can afford touchpads and consoles, that alone takes, I don't know, 4 hours, 3 hours to set up. You got multiple people putting touchpads in, all that stuff, but it takes forever. But at the summer swimming level, it still takes a long time to set up these swim meets the old school way. So it's nice to come in and watch these teams set up a meet and get started in 30 minutes. And that's pretty much as long as it'll take. I've seen teams do it faster, but it's fun to see that, especially when we have summer leagues that are running great seasons. We've got, Parks and Rec that are running multiple seasons per year. They've got a summer season, they've got a fall season, they've got a spring season, because it's so simple to set up these meets and run them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's it.
that's
Yeah, the
been one of
litmus.
my favorite things to see. I think just the frequency of how many meets are being able to be run now because of how easy it is to set them up.
Right, right. Doing a scheduled makeup is no big deal. I'll just pop up another meet. That's fine. Let's run it. The litmus test is if you're still relying as a club on that one person who has all the domain knowledge, there's an easier way. There's an easier way to do it, because this unlocks everyone on the pool deck, whether they're a volunteer or they're a staff member, because anybody can pop a meetup and they can run it. It doesn't take more than 5 minutes, to set this thing up, and it's just a dramatic paradigm shift for these clubs. So again, if you're relying on that one person to run your club, there's an easier way with Swimmingly. This thing can be learned by anybody on the pool deck in minutes on the fly, and then you can be running meets as frequently as you want with anybody on the pool deck. It just takes a couple of people to do.
Yeah. And it's just important to remember, yes, setting up a swim meet can be stressful. We're trying to avoid that as much as possible. We're definitely trying to help the volunteers, but we want these not to be survival events for these volunteers setting up a swim meet. We truly want these meets to be celebrations for the swimmers. People do not have that thought process.
No.
This meet is here to celebrate the swimmers, how much they've practiced, how hard they've worked. Meanwhile, they're over in the corner freaking out about something about the meet setup, and they
Right.
can't just get to the meet and enjoy it for the swimmers. It's hard to see.
Yeah, yeah. All right, all right. So we're presenting the solution here. If you haven't heard of Swimmingly before, don't take our word for it. You can run a sample meet with the Swimmingly app at any time. The instructions are on our website. Hayes, tell them a little bit about how to do that.
Yeah. So we'll share the links in the show. We'll share the links on social. You guys can go check it out. It's got an awesome step by step process, so you can dive in and see more. So the sample meet takes about 10 minutes. Literally grab an iPad. If you don't have an iPad, grab your next door neighbors. This takes 10 minutes. You can sit on your couch. Grab 2 phones in the house, maybe 3, maybe 4. get your kids involved, whatever you want to do. And you can literally sit down and run a sample meet with Swimmingly. We've unlocked it so you guys can log in on the app, on your Wi-Fi, run a meet, see how the timing works, see how to start combined events. Everything in the Swimmingly app is accessible to you guys at a sample meet level, which is so fun to do.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. If you want to dive deeper, we have a Swimmingly Academy that takes you through its free courses for everything: starter, timer, stroke and turn judges, our team management online. Everything's in there. But we call what Hayes is referring to running a sample meet from your couch, call it the blueprint for success. You can literally sit there, learn how to start a meet with one device, learn how to use the timer with the other, see how the live results work on the scorekeeper's iPad. And if you've never run a meet before, or if you've run 1,000 meets with a different system with the old way, get on your couch and do this for 10 minutes. It's going to blow your mind. It's all there. It's all syncing instantly. There's no IT knowledge. There's no Wi-Fi setup. It just does that for you. There's no synchronicity that you have, no secret backflip knowledge of running technology that you have to understand. This is designed for people that just want to make their organization, their aquatics program, more successful.
Yeah, and even for those that are hesitant, the ones that are so reliant on the stopwatches in the old school way, the paper trail, like take 10 minutes, give it a try,
Yeah,
become a believer just so you can see how it works. And, no harm, no foul. So we've done this for you guys. The sample meet's an amazing way to get experience on the Swimmingly app. And then part of that blueprint for success, we always walk all of our customers through this when they're onboarding, run the sample meet, run a time trial meet, and then your first meet, you are ready to go, and it is easy breezy from there.
that's it.
Yeah, so let's the big question we always get, what's the
Yeah.
pricing? Talk about the pricing.
How much
Let's
does it
address it.
cost? Yeah,
Yeah.
we this is one thing that's kind of revolutionary that we know is the pricing structure for how this is going to work, because we have teams that are higher level in the sport. We have grassroots summer swim teams. And so we've seen it all, but we're going to talk about the pricing structure. The parents register for swim team each season. We know that they've always done that some way, some shape, some form. Parents register their children for swim teams. So Swimmingly becomes the tool, the front door for registration. It's very simple. They fill out a quick form, and they instantly appear on the roster. Here's the kicker: because the parents register, they pay the Swimmingly membership right there, and it unlocks everything for everyone on your team, and there's zero cost to your organizations. It's pretty cool. So that membership, it unlocks everything from the administrators to the coaches, the parents to the swimmers, all the features. There's nothing nickel and diming you behind some paywall. After that, it's all there.
Yeah, so there's two registration paths, and like Charlie said, the parents are always going to register. It's important for the parents to register. I don't know if you really dove into this, but if your parents do not register your kids in the system, they are left out of the experience. Let me say that again. If your parents don't register in the system, they're left out of the experience. So
Yeah,
this is why we drive this home.
yeah. Explain to everyone why including the parents from day one is so key for their happiness, for their experience. Hayes.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's education. We want to make sure from the start of the season, they are educated on what is happening throughout the season. And so when your kid is registered in Swimmingly, when you do that, you add, hey, Charlie Houchin, birthday, gender, all the things, they are added to the roster automatically. Your coaches do not have to go type in a roster by a paper sheet that's handed or collected on the pool deck. It's gone. But why this is so important is because when a meet is set up, the parent will know automatically when that meet is scheduled. They will be able to RSVP to that meet. Yes, we are attending. No, we are not attending. And guess what? All of your kids' results are right in front of you in the clubhouse. Best times, progression reports, leaderboards, everything that your parents might be missing today is part of why we want to include the parents in the experience from start to finish. And that starts
Yeah.
with registration. Charlie mentioned the registration. We have two ways, two different paths, I would say. So basic registration is what we call it. Parents will simply add their swimmer, so they're included in the experience, and they will pay the Swimmingly membership. That's it. And that membership is just $18. Done. Okay. And then the other path is premium registration. This is the one that most of our teams are taking advantage of because they don't want to deal with collecting payments in a different system.
That's right.
So premium registration offers the ability for your team to set your registration dues. Okay, Charlie, I'm going to set $150 for the season. All right. I'm going to add these waivers, a liability waiver, a photo release waiver. Great. I'm going to add a towel, a t-shirt, a hat. Okay, great. All right, here's your checkout. All right, so there is broken down line item by line item, everything that a parent is paying for that season. How awesome is that? And then you see the Swimmingly membership line item right there too. So it's all inclusive. Everything is there. The coach, the team reps, they know what they're getting from the parents at the end of the day through premium registration, which is probably definitely the most used at this point.
Yeah. Pretty nice, huh? I mean, we hear this avoid double registration. You hear this phrase double registration. Well, if I'm juggling all these
Yeah.
systems, well, we got to get people in this system, we got to get people in that system. Well, if you don't have all the things that you need to run a swim meet, team management, meet management, and a timing system, you're going to be double registering because you're going to be using this system for team management, this system for meet management, this thing over here for timing system, this thing over here for live result. But we have registration, team management, meet management, timing system, live results, custom website, communication, team communication. We have everything that you need. So Hayes is talking about those two simple pathways, basic registration and premium. Either way, there's no cost to your organization. The parents register, they pay, and you guys have everything unlocked for the season.
Yeah, and just one more time hammering it home. I mean, you can definitely keep running meets with multiple different systems, but at the end of the day, those systems, those multiple systems you are using are expensive. You can look at this 18 bucks for the parent and say, "Oh, well, it sounds expensive." But guess what? If you're adding a team management system over here, a meet management system here, and then adding a timing system, those costs are going to add up quickly. And the hardware, not to mention, the hardware is eventually going to break. It just is.
Yeah. Yeah. Hayes is talking about the add up, the nickel and dime costs when you finally all these other systems, when you finally add all those things together, it's going to be more expensive. We'd love to talk to you guys about that. And then in addition to it being financially more expensive in terms of time, it has to be more expensive because you're juggling multiple systems. It has to be more expensive in time because you have to figure out how to integrate them all and make sure they all stay integrated. And if something fails, knowing how to recover from that in real time, preparing for the meet at the end of the meet. And so it's just more expensive. And the bottom line is, the financial cost is just a small part of this equation. The true cost is the time, because when you're having to hold all of these pieces in air and juggle them at the same time, you're relying on somebody to do that. And that person is not going to be there forever. And getting somebody else to step into those shoes is even more difficult. We've seen that in youth sports with that appetite for parents to help going down. And so the real cost to using all these different systems and trying to cobble them together is that it's not sustainable for the sport. And that's why you see participation go down in terms of the number of meets being run, the sport itself, right? You got to have competition to have a sport, and the number of participants. So the real cost is by using these different systems and trying to cobble them together, it's really the thing that's driving participation in the sport down in the first place. So we've made it as seamless as possible because there's one solution. It's clean. It's anyone can learn it, and it's right there. That's the thing that's going to keep the sport going, and it's going to actually put us in a position together to cause growth to happen in the sport. And we know that growth in the sport is going to be driven at the base, and that's what Swimmingly is all about.
Yeah. And for all the listeners here, I mean, we would love to talk to you guys, new teams, new leagues, existing year-round teams, Parks and Rec, YMCAs. We want to help. We truly do. And so the next thing to do, as we mentioned earlier, run a sample meet. Just try it out. Get your iPad and a couple phones, run a sample meet, and then book a call with us. I mean, we could talk about this for days. I mean, this is what we are passionate about. This is what we do every single day, and we will continue to do this every single day for every team that is interested in improving the swim meet experience. So we're pumped to talk to you guys. Go to our website, run a sample meet, schedule a call with us. Let's get it done.
Yeah. Yeah. Seriously, if you have ever felt the pain of a long night, confusing meets, trying to cobble results together at 3 a.m, you felt the stress of that, or parents asking you for information. If you've been there, trust me, we've been there. Swimmingly was built for you.
Yeah. And we believe wholeheartedly that this is the future of swim meets. I mean, Charlie, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is why we've been doing this for 12 years.
This is it.
And the easiest way to get swimmers into the sport is get them competing more often.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's yeah, and that goes back to being able to set up these meets easily.
Yeah.
And this is what's going to grow the sport.
Yeah, what Swimmingly has been up to in the industry is really exciting because of our deep, exclusive focus on the sport of swimming. You see a lot of these other providers out there that start focusing on other sports. And that's not a vision that we've ever had. We focus exclusively on the sport of swimming, and it's two prongs because we want to transform the meets that you're currently running, within the swim meet that you're currently running. And then number two, where we're taking the sport is transforming your organization outside of just that swim meet, not just giving you the tools to make the swim meet better, but giving you the implementation plan to make your organization more successful so you can grow the number of athletes on your team.
Yep. So if you're seeing this, go to our website, run a sample meet, schedule a call, let's chat, and we will talk to you guys next week. Keep it swimmingly.
See you guys.